happening on the online, Alana?
We got a couple of people.
Hi, couple of people.
Yeah.
Hi, Kate. How are you?
Usually we can see.
Yeah,
She
it's a great idea.
Sorry, Alana.
Yes, you're
I want to see my
good.
peeps. Alana wants to see your friends.
Here we go.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. Hi,
Jennifer,
Kate. How you
Jennifer, I
doing?
know.
Jennifer Burns.
Yes.
Hi.
How you doing, Kate? Good morning.
Oh, yeah, we
There she is. Look at her with her. I've clearly already had 16 cups of coffee, so. Having a dance party this morning. Joe is just not excited.
Is Joe there this morning?
He is.
Good. Tell him to buy my new listing.
Ooh, I saw the ones you were taking pictures of the other day.
Yes.
Looks cute.
Yes.
Yeah, Lawrenceville, I see that, okay.
All right, who else do we have?
Michelle.
Michelle, nice to meet you.
Girl.
Nice to meet you.
Mike Gons is here. Gabe is here.
Howdy ho, guys. All right, I said this earlier. I told Joe I wasn't teaching. I was just gonna come talk to you guys. So I have things that we can talk about. However, what do you want to talk about?
Let's see.
I also don't know what Joe's told you. So what has Joe told you? Should I start there so then you know what to ask?
Why don't you start and tell us how you got your start? Tell us a little bit about you.
All right, so I'm gonna go quick because I don't like to talk about myself. Production wise anyway, I'll talk about concerts. So I got my license 8 years ago. I started with Keller Williams, super fortunate for that. I didn't have to go through any other brokerage, which was amazing. And I started teaching at my office 1 day a week, and that really got me engaged with the content that KW offers. Gary Keller has some saying, correct me on what it is. You don't teach it until, or you don't know it until you teach it.
Right.
So I started teaching lead generation on social media, and I really got to know things. And I started selling, I was averaging around 20 houses a year. And then I got my license when I was 24, I'm 32 next month. And I got my license, I was selling on average 20 houses a year. And then I got a MAPS coach, and I went from 20 to 65 houses the following year in 1 year. So if that doesn't make you want to cry, I don't know what will.
Crying
And then
already.
Next year, I went from 65 houses to 200.
Wow.
And it was awful. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Doing that many units in a very short time period is like really, really, really hard. So now we have a team. I am not in production anymore at all. And we are averaging 200 units. And yeah. So I took the business models. Obviously you have to get to know, KW is amazing because they teach you how to run a business, right? And so if you take those models, you can do whatever you want. So we started 2 other companies this past year, and I'm using those same exact models to build those companies slowly but surely. They are still real estate related, yes. So one is transaction coordination, and the other one is specifically around lead generation. Yeah. So I am very familiar on the lead generation topic, and I believe that's what Joe wants me to talk about, but I'm here for whatever you guys want to talk about.
So was the bulk of your lead gen initially social media? And if you could like start us there a little bit and talk a little bit about like what areas of social you found to be most productive. Was it Facebook ads or whatever, you know, like what areas would you say to concentrate?
So I've actually never spent marketing dollars, which is amazing. So we spend our money on staff to help leverage ourselves, but we don't spend any money on marketing. And so before I got a MAPS coach, I had a different coach through another company. And they didn't really ask me what I was really good at as far as making connections. And so they defined what my 3 lead generation sources were, right? So as a company, you are a company individually, you're operating as a company, whether you have team members or not. And so every company has lead generation sources. Amazon has 1 million lead generation sources. How people walk in this front door, Joe has 1 million lead generation sources to get them in here. And what are they? So they told me what mine were and what I was going to focus on. And I was miserable and I wasn't good at it. And I hate not winning. So I got a different coach and he started asking me what I've done in the past. So how was I selling 20 houses a year before? And I listed off the ways, and they were all based on relationship and connection and people that I already knew in my sphere. So we got really purposeful around. So every agent, every company has 1 million lead sources. You only ever have 3 top ones though. So majority of your business, 80% of your business, we talk about the 80-20 rule. 80% of your business is going to come from your top 3 lead sources. So I got really obsessed with focusing on them and making everything I was doing before purposeful. And that's the only difference I did. So how have you guys, what are some of your top 3 lead sources?
Right now, I'm really digging on my sphere, like calling people and just doing care calls and seeing if they need anything. And trying to get into social media. I post, but it's not really too intentional. Like, call me if you want to sell. It's just like what I do throughout the day.
When you say try, you mean?
I do.
Oh, okay, just
I
checking.
do.
Okay, so
I like that.
sphere, social media, which is sphere, right?
Yeah. It's just there.
Different way of talking to them. What else?
I did door knocking recently.
How'd that go?
It went kind of well. Only 2 people answered. But the one person was essentialistic. She was getting stuff done in her house. She's like, yeah, once I fix it up, I'm ready to sell.
That's
So,
awesome. How many doors did you have to knock on to get 2 to answer?
I knocked on like 18 doors.
18
Yeah.
for a ratio of 2
2, yeah.
conversations and 1 lead.
Yeah, only.
That's amazing.
I could do that
So
more.
next time you have to knock on 18 doors to get 1 lead. Okay, third, conversion, love those.
Better. What did I do? And I think I only do 2. Does anybody else? Can somebody jump in? Oh, open houses. Open houses.
Open
Open
houses.
houses. Yeah.
Is that what you like to do though? Like where are you thriving in? Are those the 3?
Yeah, those are the 3. That's
Okay.
what I've been doing so far. I'm still like fairly new.
Okay.
So those are the ones I'm kind of trying to hone in on.
Okay. All right, she's got her 3. What about you guys?
I think for me, it was open houses, Instagram and Facebook.
Open houses, Instagram and Facebook. Okay. For the Instagram and Facebook, are they people already in your sphere that you're targeting or getting connections from? Or
I think it's people in my sphere. And I also think I'm like with the hashtags, which I wasn't even like too good with hashtags. But now with the hashtags, I've been getting people that I don't know
okay.
asking me questions and wanting to sell, or just asking me questions and wanting to meet up and, kind of go through the different steps of selling or listing for next year.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So all free stuff. Like
Yes, all the free stuff. Yep.
yeah. Okay. So open houses, Instagram, Facebook. So Instagram, Facebook, we'd count as like 1 lead source. What's a third?
Third.
Your sphere, right? People you know. Are you closing people you know?
Yeah.
Then that's the part of the 3-legged stool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Jennifer.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be closing close to 28 transactions this year. And I'd be willing to say more than half of them, probably 60% of them are outside referrals from KW agents around the US.
That's
Um,
amazing.
I have a large, like I come up high in the Google algorithm because I feed the beast. And I get regular calls from agents all over the US that have clients in Pittsburgh. So I send out referrals all the time. So
How do you feed the beast?
between reviews and making sure that my reviews that agents, if someone's looking for a KW agent and they Google Keller Williams Pittsburgh, I come up high. I feed the Google business page of mine. I also make sure that in conjunction with that, because I think that good KW agents that are trying to send clients to a good agent in Pittsburgh are then they're going to see me and then they're going to look me up on either Zillow or Google business page and look at my reviews. I try to get a cross section of reviews on both so they don't have the same ones, but then I do have some people copy and paste and they'll put them in both places. So I know what I look for when I'm sending an agent out or I'm trying to find an agent for a client. To be real honest, the first thing I look for is on Zillow, I make sure they're not a premier agent. I do not send leads to agents that pay for leads from Zillow. I just don't. And I tend to lean towards non-team just because that's how I've been, is I look for the solo agent that's hustling. And so it's worked for me. It's my largest, that and my sphere, a little bit of social media, but the social media feeds the Google beast as well. But yeah.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have to pick on you.
Of course.
What curse word did Jennifer say?
What did I say? Did I say try?
Yeah, hurts my soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that though. So Google, so your biggest lead source, those are ways that you do it. Your biggest lead source is agent to agent referrals.
Yeah. Like 3 years ago, I took a class with Michael Triddart at the North office, and it was all about, starting your Google business page and how to maintain it or whatever. And it's really funny because people will teach those kinds of classes and the room was full. And I never see, and I see maybe 1 or 2 of those agents come up when you search Keller Williams Pittsburgh. And it's just because, it's the shiny ball syndrome. We want the quick fix or whatever, but it really is just about consistency over time. And it just builds and builds. So if you're going to pick Facebook, or if you're going to door knock, or if you're going to do all the open houses, just do them all the time, do them really well and be consistent with it. But yeah, that's just, I post pictures of restaurants that I'm at and I'll have my little @ sign on it or whatever, and it just bumps me up in the algorithm is all.
That's awesome. I love that. Love consistency. So we talk about 80-20 rule all the time, right? And the most important part of your day should be the 20% should be in the morning, right? So most top producing agents do their lead generation because that is our most important thing in the beginning of the day from 8 to 11 or 9 to 12 or whatever. And as long as you're consistent, your business will be consistent. So as long as you are consistent in your lead generation, because that's your 20% that will yield you 80% of your results, then your business will be consistent. Most agents' businesses go like this because they're not consistent with their lead generation.
Yeah.
And so to Jennifer's point, staying consistent with your top 3 lead sources is super important.
Yes.
Okay, who else? We're talking about top 3 lead sources. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm Kate.
Sorry I'm late.
No, that's fine. We're casual here.
I hate being late. I'll work on it.
What's your name?
Allie.
Allie's here, everyone.
Can't see me, but I'm waiting.
She's so excited.
I'm the most excited.
We're just talking about top 3 lead sources. Can you identify yours?
No. I knew you were
Oh,
gonna ask me that.
Ellie, you can too.
Jennifer, yell.
She
You
will.
don't have to.
Top 3 lead sources.
Yeah, where'd you get your last 3 closings from?
Referrals. That's my number 1 and 2.
Amazing.
Want it?
And 2.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 more. One and 2.
Can it be 3 also?
Like referrals being my sphere. Okay, that's what I mean. Sorry. Like my sphere is 1 and 2. Though, you know, people who know, like, trust me referring. And then 3, like 2.5 and 3 is other agent referrals.
I love this.
Okay.
Phenomenal. How do you stay in contact and consistent with your 1 and 2.5 lead sources?
Social media presence, I do my very best on there, like all platforms. And then also just kind of, for lack of a better phrase, my mouth, like I'm my best marketing tool. And so not to be redundant, but anytime I'm just like out talking, you know, and I have little ones, so they have friends and moms, and I'm just always making sure people know, whether they know I'm a realtor. I'm like, oh, did you check out that listing I just had? Or, you know, I'm posting my closings. I'm like, oh my gosh, did you see this, you know, closing gift? Or they're like, you know, oh, I saw this. And just always somehow bringing it up.
So I translate that into purposeful. So you take your connections and you're purposeful about how you're speaking to them and what you're speaking to them about. What happens next? So you see the parents on the soccer team and you make a connection about your listing, and then what?
They probably go home and troll on Zillow. So that's probably what happens.
Okay, but what do you do?
Follow up. I have now designated Fridays as follow-up Friday. And this
Oh
is
my
what I'm
God,
doing.
where's Allie been all day?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is like what I'm looking my Fridays for, you know? And even if,
You know, it is Thursday, right?
yeah.
Oh, okay, sure.
No, tomorrow, this was gonna happen
Okay,
tomorrow.
okay,
This is what I'm
check.
time blocking. I know. Yeah, thank you. But, you know, even just a follow-up text, or if I'm on Snapchat or wherever, just like, hey, I noticed you seemed a little interested. Did you have questions about real estate? Or, you know, if I have something that's relevant, I'll just send them a picture of it, and
Where do
trying
all
to
of
stay
these,
top of mind.
perfect. Where do all of these connections live? Jennifer?
Jennifer, don't eyeball me.
Michelle? Where do your connections live? She knows.
Your
Dana.
database.
In your database. I got them in there.
Michelle?
I do.
I do. I get them in there. I meet a lot of people, and I'm not the one to be like, oh my God, can I get your email? Can I get your number? I go there. I'll talk to them, be like, hey, here's my real estate business card. Let me get your information, but they'll just give me, like, you know, something that give me their digits. I don't get their email. And I do not do a good job of following up.
Girl.
Can I tell you guys something? So I have printouts and we can email these to you guys. And I won't get too in the weeds with my favorite topic ever, but I'll tell you something. Harvard does a lead response management study every year, and almost every time it's the same exact results. You have to follow up with a lead more than 6 times to convert it.
Yep.
So you guys are doing all of the hard work. The hard work is making the connections, right? The hard work is finding people to talk to, getting them to want to talk to you, et cetera, vice versa. Like, we don't want to talk to everybody. Even if you don't, so I never used to be creepy and weird and be like, give me your phone number, give me your email, give me your
And
what's
that's
your
what I feel.
address,
I do
right?
feel like that when I'm asking them for their number or their email. And that's why I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna let it go. At least they have my number. And then there's times that they do give me a call back. And there's times that but I do want to get better at following up. But I don't want to be that creepy girl.
No, absolutely not. I'm with you, Michelle. How do you stay in control of that connection without being creepy?
Value. That's
So-
100%. Like, I really feel like if I can touch base with them and say, hey, like make it sound random, I'll just be like,
And
hey,
that's what I do. I do it on Facebook,
yeah.
on Instagram. I'm like, oh my God, that shirt you have on looks so cute. I don't know. Like, I'll just come up with something that's not related to real estate.
So if
See,
you
I
were,
always steer it to real estate.
I what?
I always steer it back to real estate. You know, like if somebody said that they had a cousin that was looking in Bloomfield, like 2 weeks later, I'll be like, hey, you came to mine. I just saw this listing, blah, blah, blah. Like you still
They
want them
tell
to
me-
know you're a realtor. Like that's your job.
Yeah, so if they tell me that they have a cousin, I'm like, oh my, I'm on top of that. But if we're discussing, you know, like, I don't know, like my daughter's, anything that has to do with my daughter, whatever, they all know that I'm a real estate agent. I feel like if they have any questions about real estate, they can just ask me, right?
So when you meet,
This is why I'm taking this class.
no, it's okay. Yeah.
Kate, question. Don't you think that once you get burned and you have had a lead that you knew was warm and then you see them list with somebody else or they buy with somebody else, that is what triggers me or has triggered me in sales to be more diligent, because you're like, what did I miss that I didn't convert that?
Consistency.
It's consistency.
It's the frequency of it as well. So, and we'll talk about ABC in a minute. I want to go back though real quick because this could help put you guys in control. So if you're at the soccer game, I'm just going to use this made up example. If you're at the soccer game and Sally mentioned that she's interested in selling, what is one way that you can be in control of the next time you speak?
Well, I just come right out and ask, and I'm like, oh, even if, you're not certain on who you want to work with, would you mind if I just periodically send you what's going on in our area when you're thinking of listing? Or my daughter's daycare owner was like, hey, if you ever see anything pop up on Robinson Street, and I was like, well, since I can't monitor that all the time, would you mind if I just set up a search for you in the MLS? And it just comes down to you, however often you want it to, and if anything comes up and, and grab their
Yes.
info.
So the key is you getting their info first. You don't ever want to, I don't even carry business cards, haven't in about 5 at least years. Don't even put them at houses that I show. Doesn't matter. They see you on showing time.
So can I piggyback off of you? I am a part of like a self-help group, okay? And the biggest thing that everyone always says is like when new, members are joining, people were always like, I give my number to you. No one's ever gonna call you. They're not going to. They're gonna,
They're free.
whoever is the most quickest person to them. So I'm always like, let me get your number. And I tell them, because you won't call me. And I send them a text, here's my number in case, but, and I set the stage, just so you know, I'm gonna reach out to you once a week. And just like set the stage as to what they can expect from me.
So she's very aggressive and I love it. And you don't always have to be that way. Like some people.
And I think that's what's hard for me, is to be so aggressive.
Yeah.
I
So
don't want people to do it to me. I don't like the aggressiveness on me. I don't like it.
So you don't have to. That's amazing. Love that. Don't stop doing that.
It's
Keep
not
doing
all,
it.
but it does depend on the person. I don't always
Yeah.
come off like,
Yeah.
I'm going to send you houses every day.
but
But I don't think you don't have to be apologetically aggressive or apologetically passive. You just need to be consistent. Whatever it is, whatever your style is,
But
just do it.
the goal of getting their contact info. And so Michelle, what would be a more passive way of doing that?
So like, that's what I'm saying. Like for me, it would be exactly what I'm doing now with like Facebook and Instagram. I mean, it's been working a little bit.
Finding them on Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then through there, so I didn't get every single person's phone number or address or email when I was communicating with them. But if I made any sort of connection, literally, if it was the person at the coffee shop that I went to once a month, if I made a connection with them, I would put them in my database and I would put them on a follow-up sequence, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And every time the sequence told me to follow up, I didn't have their phone number, but I would find them on social media. And then I would purposefully either comment, like, or reach out to them depending on the connection that was made, and build a relationship through that way. And then that that opens the door for them to feel comfortable to reach out to you when it is time to make a move.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about finding them on Facebook right away or whatever. Like, you can put them in your database. That's a new lead. And then figure out how you're going to connect with them.
Now, when you're putting them in your database, are you asking for like their email and this and that? Like, how do you, like, what kind of information you're trying to get from them?
I mean, it goes to emotional intelligence, right? If someone's like, oh my God, you're a realtor, that's so exciting. I can't wait to talk to you when the time is right in 6 months. Okay, cool. Well, like, we should actually start talking about it now. So what's a good email or what's a good phone number? And we'll connect. And then once you get their phone number, then you'll add value in the next conversation by providing an excellent mortgage rep that's going to connect with them and tell them what they need to do to prep for the next 6 months. And then you're going to get their email through that conversation. And then it'll build
What
up.
if they do not talk about real estate? Like, let's say they change the conversation. Like, they're like, oh, that's awesome, you're a real estate agent. I just bought my house. Do you still get like the information?
Then you probably wouldn't ask for all of their stuff because that would be weird, right? I just bought a house. Why would I give this new realtor that's asking for my phone number? I wouldn't. You would add their name to the database. And as it's time to follow up with them, the system will remind you, we'll talk about it in a minute. As it's time to follow up with them, you're only going to connect with them on social,
Okay.
most likely. And then people move every 6 years. So in 6 years, you'll have a lead, or you'll have a referral from them within the same year. So don't worry about all of their contact information right away, especially if it's a passive lead.
Mm-hmm.
Add them to your database. You're only as good as your database. Okay. How are we feeling on that? That was a good talk. So systematically working it. If you guys don't have a CRM, there's a million CRMs, relationship management, client relationship management is what CRM is. There's a million of them. You guys are with KW, and so you have Command for free. Command you can manipulate however you want. Every CRM pretty much is a blank slate, and you have to build it for what you want. Systematically staying in touch with your database is the most important thing, right? So there's a couple of different, we'll talk about them in pipelines. So there's a couple of different pipelines. And so a new lead could be considered somebody that reached out on your listing. That's a new lead. Or someone that you met at the grocery store that mentioned they want to move in 6 months, you're going to add. So a new lead gets treated a certain way. A new lead on a listing, you obviously want to follow up with within 5 minutes to convert it 400%. We'll talk about that. So you have to respond to a lead within 5 minutes to convert it by 400%. If you wait longer than 5 minutes, the chance of you converting that lead to a client drops significantly, like obnoxiously. It's embarrassing. So how are you following up with your leads within 5 minutes? And then it moves on to then once you connect, we talk about two-way conversations. So a lead can inquire. If you don't answer your phone and then you call them back 3 days later, you're probably not going to get them on the phone. So they're a lead, but you haven't had a two-way conversation with them. So you can call and call and call. And if you don't have a two-way conversation with somebody, you never get the opportunity to move them on to the next phase. Mm-hmm. So you need contacts, you need two-way conversations. From two-way conversations, that allows you to qualify them. Qualifying meaning, do you have all of their contact information that you need to continue the conversation? Or are you talking to the person that is making the decisions? Are you talking to the kid that thinks their mom wants to move? I understand that. You're identifying where they want to live. You're identifying how much, right? These are all qualifying questions. In this packet that I'll hand out is an example of qualifying questions. There's 5 or 6 that everybody should have, and you don't script it, right? You just generally know what you're asking for. That qualifying stage allows you to move them to a pipeline, an A, a B, a C. Some people refer it to hot, warm, cold. I like ABC. ABC pipeline is telling you how soon you're going to follow up with them. The pipeline that you build out in your CRM, which is extremely easy, it's a set of tasks. The frequency is defined by the ABC. So A is a lead that wants to make a move within the next 30 days. You know that you can get a paycheck from them within the next 30 days. They are making a move. They're already pre-approved. They don't have to sell anything. They're ready. They're writing offers with you. A B pipeline is somebody within the next 30 to 180 days. You can define these yourself. And then a C pipeline is somebody within 6 months to a year, they're gonna make a move. So an A pipeline, they wanna make a move right now. How often do you think you should follow up?
Weekly?
For sure. And if you're not, this goes to Jennifer's point, if you're not following up with them once a week, they inquired on a listing on Zillow, and the showing agent or whoever is paying the most for the monopoly game they're in is gonna go show them the house. And if they like that house, proximity, right? You wanna be there in proximity to them making a decision. So that's what the pipeline allows you. So a pipeline is, it's reminding you to follow up, and it's just a task to you. Just keep it simple. It's just a task to you to follow up with them once a week. Emotional intelligence takes over, right? So if you talk to them every single day, ignore the task. Like, you're good, you're on track. B pipeline probably should only remind you to follow up once every 2 weeks. And C pipeline, they're moving within the next 6 months to a year. How often do you think you should stay in contact with them? Yeah, once every 30, 45 days. And the conversations leading up to that year, like let's say we put somebody on right now and they already told you they're not moving until next December for whatever reason they have. The conversations leading up to that are probably not going to be pushy real estate. They're going to be relationship building conversations until, 6 months or closer to the year mark, because you just want to get them comfortable with it. Why do you work with who you work with? You like and trust them. So what questions do you guys have for ABC pipeline?
So when you're nurturing, it seems to me like in the A category, you're nurturing with direct information. Like, I just saw this listing. I saw you favorited this listing. Let's get in there. Things are moving quickly. The B is just kind of like if something pops up. I used to always set up a search for myself. Sometimes they might not be ready for their own search, but I set it up myself. So I would get an alert when the perfect house or something that I thought they would like pops up. It gives you a reason to make that contact and to make that, send that text, send that email, forward them that listing. Allie and I are closing a house next week that I nurtured for 4.5 years. It was just an email, probably once every 6 months. How are things going? I'm still here for you if you need me. It wasn't cheesy. It wasn't aggressive, but it was staying top of mind. Yep. So I think it feels better. Michelle, you feel less like car salesman-y if you're showing up with value. You've got something in your hands and you're providing it to them. It's not just like, hey, here I am, your local realtor. How are you? Are you ready to buy or sell in the next 30 to 60? That kind of talk. But if you're actually showing up with something in hand, just say, hey, this reminded me of you. It reminded me of our conversation.
Yeah,
No,
that's organic.
That makes sense.
Organic.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, that's what's amazing about the CRM. So you'll start forgetting people names, number one, and you'll start forgetting exactly what they're looking for. So listening to asking those questions, what exactly are you looking for and why? First of all, I could teach you about pain versus pleasure sales technique, but it all comes down to listening to what they want. And like Jennifer's saying, you can show up and say 123 Main Street just showed up and it has an in-law suite, and I know that you're looking to move your in-laws in. Let's go look at this house. You may move that B up to an A like that. So that's the purpose. So I highly suggest getting a whiteboard. I'm obsessed with whiteboards or a chalkboard, whatever, a piece of paper that you tape on the wall. I don't care. And literally listing out who is on your A, B, C pipeline and constantly. So in the mornings, I used to literally go on the MLS and I would scan. I worked in like 3 different MLSs. I would scan all 3 MLSs, what came on the market that day. And I would glance up every single time I saw a house and scroll down the list. Does this fit any needs of any of my people on my pipeline? And I also had a separate list for investors because they're a pain in the butt. And it's so easy to do exactly what Jennifer said when you set yourself up for that success.
I have a question, and I hope it segues into your automation of your pipeline. But like I found once I hit a certain number of transactions, finding the time in that morning, again, it's time blocking, but really being able to scan and look for specific people that are in the ABC category. How did you go from, 20 plus transactions and take it to the next level? Was it about just that consistency and the conversion or how were you really kicking through that next ceiling?
Jennifer, this is Joe's favorite topic for me.
I'm here for you, Joe.
Here
Got
for
you.
you, Joe. So Jennifer, thank you. Yes, that's literally the last talking point I have. So we talked about 20% a little bit in the beginning, top 20% leading to 80% of your results. So I had a really big mind shift that had to happen from going from 20 to 65 and 200 within 3 years in a row. I had to start like having payroll. I didn't even know what that meant. And my God, is that nauseating for the first couple of times. I had to like commit to my 5 top income producing activities though, if I was going to stay consistent with my results that I wanted. So that goes back to, first of all, identifying what those top 5 income producing activities are. Who can tell me what they are?
Lead generation.
Lead generation's 1.
I guess back me up.
Go ahead, Yula. I don't know.
Jayla's got it. She says she's new, but that's just a
Go
crock.
Jayla. Go Jayla. Listings.
Income producing activities. So those are results of.
Yeah.
Follow up, asking for business.
Oh my God, she's a rock star. So lead generation, follow up. Let's see if I can remember them. Negotiating contracts, script and role play. Did I say negotiation?
Yep.
Script, role play, negotiation, writing offers. No, that's not fit. That's not one of the 5. Appointments, showings, listing appointments, etc.
Really?
I'm sorry.
That was a struggle.
We
Lead gen, lead follow-up,
got him.
go on appointments, negotiate contract script and role play.
Yeah, Joe knows one. All right, so after I identified those 5, those are the things that should be protected in the top 2 to 3 hours of the day. Isn't this so interesting? Do you guys know how much time your peak performance is in a day?
It's short for me.
It is short, which
So
is
short.
annoying.
First thing.
The
It's
first,
honestly before 9 a.m. for me. Like that's really when I get a lot of stuff done in a
what
short
time do you
period.
wake up?
About 6.
Yes.
It should be 5. It should be 5.
It's 2 to 3 hours of peak performance that your brain has in the morning. And it's as soon as you wake up. So I know, right? I'm like, I don't know. That's why I just hang out in the afternoon. So if you protect that time in the morning, first of all, you'll get it done quicker because apparently your brain's working the best that time. You're getting it done in the morning, and then it really doesn't matter what happens the rest of the day. Like those fires are still going to be there. That if you're not leveraging a TC right now, the title problem's still going to be there at noon, right? If you do your lead generation, your follow-up, not your appointments, obviously. Your lead generation and your follow-up need to be the first 2 things in the morning. Your appointments come later in the afternoon. Negotiations, all the time. And so I need to go all in when I do things, so I literally would like ignore every single thing that was anything personal related on my phone, on my TV. I would lock myself in a room and I would do my lead generation and follow-up, AKA I would do all of my tasks that came up in my CRM in the morning. And that was it. That was the only difference I made. So I was super purposeful about lead gen, and I was obsessive about my 2 hours in the morning. Because then you don't have this, and who wants this? We need like paychecks regularly. Does that answer your question?
100%. It's those things, it's missing those things because we all get to a certain, hopefully we get to a certain level. I feel like that's where I'm at, is that I've got Post-its and I've got stuff, and it's just like getting those together and really being purposeful about staying in touch. The busier you get, the harder that becomes, I think. It just really becomes a challenge because you are putting out fires and your squirrel brain is everywhere. And I do agree with you that leverage of a TC really can take it to another level because.
So this took way too many months than it should have for me. And I could have cried a few times less a day. I was crying every single day.
Yeah.
If I leveraged sooner, but I had to get over the mindset of it. But leveraging admin work was the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm not good at it. Most agents aren't.
What's up?
Yes, you can join us, Joe. You have permission. We.
How did you answer Jennifer's question?
You missed it.
I know.
The 5 things was just like going from just kind of what I call flying by the seat of your pants to really getting organized with your growth. I just personally, I just feel okay at this level. I don't want a team. I don't want that. And so I'm leveraging with other agents to refer things out so that I can cherry pick a little bit more, but that's just my growth. Most of the agents that I see in the office are truly wanting to be in that next level. And I think that that's just a critical point, whether you're going from 20 to 60 or 60 to 200, there's that moment where things have to change. You have to leverage more. You have to be more diligent, more consistent with those mornings or whatever it is that you're doing to get that growth.
I think one of the things that's kind of not embraced enough is kind of doing the unsexy, simple work. And Kate, like the perspective, did Kate admit that I coached her?
No.
Okay.
That what?
Yeah, she was one of my coaching clients. So one of the breaking points, probably not the right word, one of the breakthrough points.
Oh, I had a lot of breaking points. I was very open about that.
So one of the breakthrough points was like one of our measurables every week was 100 contacts. And we would probably not even move past that point in the coaching call if she hadn't hit it. Because if it was just that simple, we knew that if she made 100 two-way conversations, it wasn't just like sending an email out, that doesn't count as a contact. It was if she didn't have 100 two-way conversations, she wasn't in enough, like there wasn't enough opportunity to do the business. And so like we think that we need to do all these things. I was actually having that conversation about command recently. Like we think that command is like the fix-all. Command is a tool for the relationships. The business is built on the relationships, right? So like it's literally that simple. All of the fancy things about real estate kind of boil down to, do you have enough people that you have relationships with that you could do business with to close your goal? If you want to close 100 deals and you know 20 people, the answer is no. So you just need to find out how you get 100 people in your circle that would be willing to do business with you. It's like, that's as simple as
It really is simple. It's honestly boring how simple it is.
Yeah, and so like what Jennifer, like what you're describing there, like it's interesting how, yeah, the leverage allows you to focus on the right simple thing, right? Because the TC work, as you grow, like you'll start to have pressures that are new, right? And so For her, the difference of pressure between 20 units and 60 units was TC. The difference between 60 units and 200 was driving around and doing showings. It was like the pressure changed, right? It was like a different obstacle at that growing point, like you're describing. And so figuring out what it is that's getting in the way of your next level of growth and getting that out of the way allows you to just keep focusing. Because like then for her, it never changed. It was always 100 two-way conversations. The pressures changed and the environment changed and some other things changed. But at the end of the day, like it was always just that. And then that led to the other measurements, like how many appointments did you go on, how many listings taken. But we knew that if there weren't enough conversations, none of the other measurements had to matter.
I think that's the mental block, I think, for a lot of agents is just getting past the idea that 100 two-way conversations is possible.
You
It's
don't
the
have to
mindset.
start at 100 though, right?
What's that?
You don't have to start at 100.
No, but that's like the bold, it's the bold concept is making those, contacts and being diligent about it, even stepping outside of your comfort zone to tell people that you're in real estate, to take it seriously. Like you said, you are an entrepreneur, you are a business, you're always marketing. You should always be telling people what you do.
Mhm. I think you can passively do that through social media as well, as long as they're following you or
Yeah.
whatever. And you're posting something relevant, like Jennifer, I loved your post the other day because you weren't obnoxiously saying I'm in real estate, who wants to call me to go see a house? You were like, hey, just chilling at this new listing that I got and we're doing photos after my gym workout. Like that's all people want to do is relate to another human that's like that.
Yeah.
Mhm. But
And it was cold. It was cold. So I'm bundled up. I'm always in a cold house. Like I'm always freezing. I don't even know.
It was real.
Yeah.
So like that was your way, that is a way of staying in connection and communication with your people as well. As long as they're on there.
So if you look at the funnel, did you guys talk about?
Oh, we didn't get there.
Oh,
That's cool. I mean, we talked about it. Do you want me to talk about it now or you have something to say about it?
no, I was just gonna say it's relevant to this conversation because so like we get so fancy, right, with all of the stuff, all of the things. But at the end of the day, if you're not putting enough people into the top of the funnel, which is
Capture, connect, cultivate, close.
capture, connect, cultivate, close.
Oh,
Come on, Ron,
I
can you
don't-
like mirror that?
I don't know what just happened, but it's amazing.
Oh, Alana.
That's like my favorite thing ever.
So capture, connect, cultivate, close. It is a favorite thing. But if you just constantly focus on each of those steps, right? So like, have you captured enough people? Are you connecting with them? Are you cultivating them into business opportunities? And then are you constantly looking for the close?
So in relating that back to our conversation earlier, the capture was, you could get a lead on a listing, and if you never communicate with them, it's just a contact in your database. Connect is that two-way conversation. And after you move them, only after you connect with them, you can move them down to the cultivate stage. In the connect phase is when you have the opportunity to qualify them.
Well, you want to talk about some of those qualifying questions you mentioned earlier?
Sure do, Jennifer, thank you. So there's 5 or 6, we have 6 on this page that we'll email you guys online. The who's making the decision. Another really important question around the who is who else is going to have an impact on this decision? So if you're only talking to the husband, who knows who really makes the decisions in the household? I mean, Joe, cover your ears. It's literally 80% of the time the woman. So if you're not in relationship with the woman, get in relationship with the woman. So who else is a part of that impact, decision making? And then when are they looking to make a move? Where are they interested? You can't add value if you don't know where. If they're all over and they say 3 states, well, you know they're definitely not an A or a B, right? So you'll have to help them identify what state they're looking at. Why are they looking to move? I mentioned this, pain versus pleasure, which is one of my favorite things in the whole world.
Mhm.
If you know why they're moving, you can use that against them in the best way. So we talked about the in-law suite that was on 123 Main Street. And you can be a little manipulative about it in the sense of like, if they're not 100% interested or think that they're interested in it, even though you know it's a great fit for them, you can use paying for it. So how long do you want to live without your in-laws moving in with you? Or, this is a really bad example, but you get the idea. Some people might not want their in-laws living with them. And then how are they doing it? Are they paying cash? Do they need to sell in order to buy?
Can I make a point on the sales language is a huge passion for me. One thing to think about with the 6 connecting questions is to have a logical and an emotional counterbalance to those questions. Because you can get the logical answer, but if you don't understand the emotional significance behind the logical answer, you probably won't get movement out of them. So like the logic of an in-law suite is probably a logistical reason, right? Like, oh, we need to have our in-laws living with us. Okay, cool. So what's significant about having them live with us? Oh, well, their health is deteriorating, so we need to have them closer. Okay, so now that pain versus pleasure conversation, you can say, okay, hey, we found the only house on the market with an in-law suite that meets your needs. If we miss this one, what will you do? Right now that pain versus pleasure elevates to a whole nother level, and you can actually like really have an understanding. Plus the other thing is, it's not about manipulation wasn't the wrong word, but the other aspect.
I said in a good way.
I know, but
Manipulating your words, your language around it.
correct. But the other thing is that like you're also making sure that you're serving them the best way possible. Because when you ask better questions, you can really get,
That was an impressive word.
yeah.
That's why we have Joe here.
When you're asking better questions and your sales language gets to a higher level, then you can serve them on a better level, right? And so if you are showing them the only house that has an in-law suite on the market at all, right, which does not, I mean, that's actually a totally legitimate possibility, right? If you're showing them that and you know that the next one that could come could not be for another 4 months, like, hey, like you said this was important to you. Is it important enough to buy this house, or are you willing to sit around and wait for the next 4 months? And if they say we're willing to wait around for the next 4 months, then you just learned how to treat them, which is with less urgency. Because if you're having a mismatch of the way that you're treating them versus their expectations, you're also not serving them the best way possible. Does that make sense? So the connecting questions is like extremely valuable. We worked a lot on that in essentially in the database that she was using, and you could do this in your command, is you could label these out. You could put who, what, when, where, how, and why. Like the buckets are already in command. I mean, in terms of the who, it's obviously the names or whatever, but you could go into the notes and say who, and you can say husband and wife. Husband is the driver of finance, wife is the emotional decision maker. Make those notes, because if you can answer those questions of the who, what, when, where, how, and why, if you can answer those, then you know that your database has high value information. Does that make sense?
I think it's critical too, timing there. Like if you're over the phone, I have a copy and paste that I put into notes at command that answers those questions. So I immediately, they're prompting me, I know how to answer them. But like if you have an organic conversation with someone like out in the field or whatever, you're going to lose that information if you aren't consistently putting it right where it should go. That is a huge thing that I think busy agents do lose leads because they forget. They talk to so many people either at that open house or whatever, you forget what all the different clicks were that person had to say. You really need to be diligently keeping track of that. And if you're consistent, it needs to be in that CRM all the time.
I agree with that. So now the agents on my team get to read my past notes on people, and almost once a week, they're like dying laughing because of the outrageous notes I'll take. Some are really funny. But like if they tell me they play the piano, I'm writing it because I'll be able to connect with them on that. Hey, how are the piano? And like Mary the piano lady. She's literally in my database as that. I don't know her last name, but she plays the piano and gives lessons. Swear to God, Mary's her first name. But it reminds you how to connect with that. and
It's
not.
the
gonna sound like
EQ. It's the EQ over IQ. Every time that's going to build your database that will pay you back. It's working smarter, not harder. The E EQ.
So 6 qualifying questions, and then the action plans, we talked about this, leads you to the ABC. And then that gives you permission to close them. Push them into the closing bucket.
Talk about the ABC, in terms of how you use the connecting questions to know how to.
We did talk about that. One thing I will say, so Jennifer mentioned that one of her biggest lead sources was agent referral. Which Joe knows was one of my biggest lead generation sources. So in addition to, you can get creative once you master the ABC. Gary talks about that, right? You're not allowed to get creative until you master the primary goal. I created an agent referral action plan. And I would go to masterminds and conferences within KW or outside of KW. I thrived in KW world, so most of it was KW. So every time I went and I met somebody, I would add them to my database as if they were a stranger on the street that I would sell a house to. And I would write in there how I met them, where I met them, because I would go to so many. I still do. It's obnoxious. I just got back from one on Wednesday. And then I would tag them or group them, however you guys do it in your CRM. And every time we had a new conference that we were going to, if it was regional, I had my regional group. And if it was national, like family reunion is coming up, I have my family reunion group. And I would email them and I would say, hey, I'm really excited to see you. Can't wait to learn things at family reunion or whatever. Even if I didn't get to specifically meet up with them or see them, they were remembering me. In addition to staying on social media with them, there's no way I would ever remember half of the agents that I meet at conferences if it wasn't for that action plan. And I've built some amazing friendships from that action plan alone. And you get referred to Facebook groups and.
And it's the same rules apply in that as they do in your consumer relationships, which is don't send them garbage. Like, so if you think about that, right, would you send, if you met a great agent at a networking event or a family reunion or whatever, would you send them like a, hey, remember it's time to wind your clock back? Would you send
I
them that?
can't. No, I cannot.
Right? So think
Yeah.
about that, because like, are your standards for your communication something that you would want to receive?
I think that there was a time and place in business when you just kind of spammed people because it was just buckshot. But nowadays we get so much spam. When I get those things, like it actually ticks me off.
Yes, same,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, you
It's
can,
annoying.
you can actually.
Like I just met you. I don't want your weekly newsletter. What the heck?
Yeah,
Right,
I totally
you can
agree.
destroy their relationship.
Yes.
So I would think about that, right? I don't think enough attention is paid to the content of those drip campaigns. I'd rather you send fewer but high value than just it's dangerous because we read in the MREA, oh, I need a 33 touch. And you think like, oh, that means I just need to send 33 random time change type of emails. But like, you can be really creative and very purposeful and intentional about that. And I think so when you take it to agents, all of a sudden we get anxious about that because we're like, oh, I would never want to send another agent like something that's not valuable because they would think I'm like less of a professional or whatever. Well, guess what? You're doing that to the consumers that came to your open house. Stop it. So raise the level of that. I mean, you also think about that from that capture, connect, cultivate. Like if your intention is to connect with these people, is what you're sending actually doing that with them, or are you driving a wedge between you?
We actually didn't talk at all about drip campaigns. I think ABC pipeline's way more important than drip campaign.
Great.
I would say, don't even worry about that yet, unless you already have one, then take out 80% of the emails you think are in there that are good to send.
I'd be curious to know, there are a lot of agents that thrived or really excelled during a time of drip campaigns because they were just the loudest one in the room, so to speak, that was just inundating people with with information about their business or whatever it is. But now we are so inundated with digital information that kind of drippy, the drip campaigns that are just vague and too broad. Like I can only imagine that potential clients just unsubscribe, like get out.
Yeah, I agree.
So who has recently made an online purchase as a result of a drip?
Oh, as a result of a drip? No.
No?
So I do have flights.
Yeah, I will, so travel sometimes. Michelle, the question was just asked, when was the last time anybody made a purchase as a result of a drip campaign? So like, I get emails from Banana Republic. Why? I bought things from the drip campaign from them. I remember buying a movement watch that I found on Instagram and I liked it. So I bought a second, and then I bought a third. Then I bought an Apple Watch and stopped buying them. But I want you to think about that, right? Like, so what makes those types of drips work? It's that the content is engaging. It's a picture
That
of,
is, that's so funny you guys said that, because that actually brings everything together for me. Only because like every time I look, like I forget about free people. I forget about it. Every time they send me an advertisement, I'm like, oh shoot, free people. And I like look at what they have on sale, so that kind of brings everything together.
yeah. Karen says subliminal message, and it's a little bit subliminal, but it's also staying top of mind. Gary calls it staying top of mind. So yeah, there's like that passive, like you just said, like where it just keeps that connection going on. But what kind of content are you sending? And Gary says this, we need to have a method and a message to our communication. So the method is going to be, is it a text message? Is it an email? Is it social media? Is it a call? Like what's the actual vector that we're sending that message out there? That's the method. The message is, what's the content of that drip campaign or that item, and what's our goal? Like if you're hitting send on something, before you hit send or before you save it in your CRM, ask yourself, what do I want the recipient of this to do when they get it? And if you can't answer that because you're just sending them garbage, don't send it. Right? Because if you don't know what they're going to do, they're not going to know what you want them to do. And they're most likely going to start to disengage. Make sense? Like Banana Republic knows what is the answer to that question with them when they send me something. What do they want me to do? Go on their website and buy something. It is crystal clear what their target is, right? And if 55% of the time I don't open that email, that's okay, because they know that 45% of the time I'm going to open it. They know that 8% of that time I'm going to actually go to the website, and they know that 1 out of every 200 days, I'm going to scroll far enough that I'm going to find something that I want to buy. And that's okay, because it's just a numbers game for them. Right?
So the average open ratio for an email, a good one, like outstanding, is 30%. Just open ratio. Not even talking about click.
Boy, do they get me. They get me all the time.
Who does?
I'm talking about like the fashion always gets me.
Yeah. Travel. So that's so bad. They like Southwest has me pegged.
Oh my God, Southwest.
Do you hate them too, Michelle?
I hate them when I spend the money.
Oh, Jill likes them. I dislike how they board planes, but other than that, they're fun.
100%. I hate that. It's like cattle. I hate
Yeah.
it. Hate it.
Karen says something in the chat, something that's relevant to you, right? That is really important to think about, right? Because travel is relevant.
Oh,
to
can
you.
we talk about mirror matching?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Goes on his phone. I don't know if you can see him.
Yeah, you said it. I'm good.
So who knows what mirror matching is?
Look at Jennifer.
Jennifer, she's like, I can't wait. Do you?
Isn't it just like in your conversation is tailoring your responses to what that individual is telling you? That's how I see it. Is that different?
Yeah, no, that's it.
Okay,
Body language, the tonality.
100%, yeah. The cadence of your voice, how fast, like you and I could have a conversation. We're like this, we're like this, we're like this. Yeah, 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 yeah. We're going, we're going, we're going. And then I have other ones and I'm like, oh my God, molasses. But you have to, because if you're too fast with the ones that are slower, they lose you. They do not feel like you're listening.
Why do you think mirror matching is so important?
Connection, like they want to feel like you're them.
It's so important. People like people who can relate to.
That's
Oh
it.
my God. Who
What'd
is
she
this
say?
girl?
What did she say?
She said, people like people they can relate to, and people love themselves. They love talking about themselves. If you let somebody talk, you will be their best friend by default. You don't even have to speak. I do that all the time.
It's the engineers that always trip me up. You never know which kind of engineer you're going to get. But those are the ones that you really have to kind of dodge and figure out how to communicate with, the engineers.
What trips you up about them?
What used to trip me up about them is that I'm really good at connecting emotionally and making just like really personal connections, but they're more analytical. And I do have the super analytical brain. So if I know that a client is an engineer or engineer, I do my research. I look people up online. I try to find what they do so that when I meet them or I go on that listing appointment, I can relate to them. But if they're analytical and they're in that kind of a job, I come with data, 100%. I come with numbers. I don't try to chit chat about where their kids go to school.
Stop cursing. We're at school.
I'm sorry. I do not chit chat. I just come with hard facts and I know my numbers backwards and forwards and present it that way. That's usually their love language is data.
I agree.
Love that.
She's good.
Yeah. So can I share something, a secret with you? If you ask somebody, they'll tell you how they want to be communicated with and what's important to them. So that's a trick. Like, so as you're meeting somebody, here's a great way to do it. So pretend you're at an open house. I like to role play. So
I like to role play.
pretend you're at an open house, right? Somebody walks into an open house, you start to communicate with them, and you say, what would be the best way for me to communicate with you in the future so I can earn your business? They'll tell you what they want, and then you just have to do that. And that's the like that.
You can put it in the note section in your CRM.
So I'm just like, and I recommend that you have a couple questions that let you get to that, because like what Jennifer said about like, oh, that's their love language or the analytical versus like logic versus emotion. Remember how I said, when you're thinking about the 6 connected questions, who, what, when, where, how, and why, and if you can kind of travel, I'm visually pointing about this. If you can travel between the logic and the emotion of all 6 of those, you'll understand where you're connecting with those people on those. So an engineer is going to be much more on the logical side of some of those, but even still, when it comes to the who, right, there might be an emotional part to them that you're going to be able to uncover, and then you can quickly shift to the emotional side, right? Like, because the logical side of them on the when or the how, that might be extremely analytical, but on the who, it's like, well, I need to like, okay, who's going to be impacted by this move? Oh, my mom. Okay, even if they're an engineer, that's on the far end of that emotional spectrum, and now you're going to be able to connect with them. So understanding like how you kind of travel between the logic and the emotion is huge.
Mhm.
That's a huge conversation in working with seniors, and particularly that's why I got my designation in seniors real estate, is just understanding like that sentimentality, a house that someone grew up in. They might be living in another state, an engineer, lawyer, whatever they are. But if it's a house they grew up in and it affects a family member or their mom or dad that's aging or whatever, that's a huge component. You're navigating all kinds of dynamics, and it's just a really critical point to make, is to just know how to do that.
Yes.
Know how to connect on different levels.
So Joe is a wizard with words. And there's a book that he's also obsessed with. It's called Exactly What to Say. Ron, can you drop it in the chat for us, please?
I love Ron. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Ron. And it's this little black book with
I love
orange
that
words.
Cute book.
Michelle, do you have that book?
I do. I think I gave it. Did I give it to you, Jayla?
I think I seen you with it. I don't have it though. I definitely.
Oh, somebody stole my book.
It's a quick listen on Audible.
Okay.
On Audible, listen to it in the car.
Yeah, but.
We like to
Don't
highlight.
do that.
You have to highlight. Yeah, you do.
Oh, yeah, having your own copy is important.
Yeah, that book in particular, so, the reason I keep checking my phone, I have an issue with my company I work with. We train all of our salespeople off that book, and what we do with them specifically is Michelle, so you have it, you've read part of it, right? Jennifer, you have it?
I
I
have.
do not have that one.
Ron, can you,
You already shared it.
yeah, he shared the title. Did he share the PDF version?
Oh. I don't know.
Ron, can we email it to these wonderful human beings, the PDF version, please?
So.
Ron's a wizard. He's amazing.
So the trick that you can do with this book is every chapter is essentially a scripting idea. So I'll give you an example. One of them is it's this script. It may not be for you, but ignore the naughty word at the end. Okay.
Perfect.
So it may not be for you, but is one of the scripts. And so there's like a 4 or 5 or 6 page chapter around that script. It talks about that script. It gives you examples of how to use it. So my recommendation when you get the book, and one of the reasons why I'm pro physical book, like listen, I do Audible all the time, but one of the reasons I recommend the physical book is because you can go to that chapter and you actually can script and role play around that script. So you can say, it may not be for you, but, and then you can actually practice versions of that question. So at an open house, you say, hey, it may not be for you, but I know about a property down the street. Would you like me to send you the listing on that after the open house? Right, which by the way so the power of that script is that it's a little bit of a soft takeaway close but people also have FOMO. When you say it may not be for you, but they're implying in their head subliminally, Karen, they're implying in their head that other people do that.
Yes.
Right, so the book that's why the book is called Magic Words for Influence and Impact. It's because it actually, like, even something as simple as it may not be for you, but like 7 words has a really, really powerful way of creating a result.
Mhm.
So phenomenal book, and it is part of my wizardry.
It never ceases to amaze me, like just the idea, a lot of new agents too, in particular, will sign up to be the open house guy or gal and work those open houses, but they really maybe don't do their homework of what's nearby, or, like what can they then, help somebody else see if that particular house isn't for them, because you don't want them to just walk out like, this isn't for me, it's too small or whatever. Well, then you want to have a backup plan. You want to be prepared. Don't waste your time for 3 to 4 hours on a Sunday or Saturday without having data and like information for people to keep that connection.
So now that we know about the sales funnel and the pipelines, what will we do with those people?
So the open house, by the way, is a capture.
Capture.
It can also be a connect if you ask questions, right? So then we need to go to the next step, which is cultivate. So what are you going to do after the open house?
Add them to your database.
What are you going to do at the open house, and what are you going to do after the open house? At the open house, you're going to connect, qualify. After the open house, you're going to do what?
Follow up.
Follow up or add them to a database.
Add them
Put
to
them in the database.
That's right.
You should know from those qualifying conversation at the open house, because you're making best friends with them, right? Purposefully, and you're asking them the questions that you need, and to know how to serve them, and then they fall into the ABC pipeline, the buckets.
And don't ignore people that come into your opens that have an agent. Call that agent, make a connection with that agent, say, hey, I talked to Bill and Brenda and they came through. This was a great house. They really liked it. Like keep pushing, keep making that contact. Don't just be like, it says they have a realtor. Here's the name. No, you're still trying to sell that house.
I tell our agents on the team this. Joe, don't listen. I don't know if this is right or not, but for everybody, if they don't put, it depends on how you guys have them sign in. It doesn't matter. But if they don't put the realtor's name that they're working with, I follow up directly with them, because most likely they're just putting that because they think that you're going to spam them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if they don't have a realtor's name that they put in, if they do, I absolutely respect that 100%. If they don't, they just don't want to be spammed and I'm following up with them anyway and making best friends.
I have that on my sign up sheet. Please feel free to leave your information. I do not spam. You will not get my weekly newsletter. You're like, it's, you're safe here.
Yeah. Okay, what questions do you guys have?
I have another book that my networking group is working on that I highly recommend is Atomic Habits.
Great
If you're
book.
having a tough time, time blocking, or like for me, it was mostly personal, like I wasn't taking care of myself physically, is how to like integrate all of those things so that your day is integrated with all the things, not just the work things when you burn out. But there's a workbook for it as well. We're working on that as well, but Atomic Habits is incredible. It's great.
That is a good book. So the one thing is matched up with similar goal to it. So how's everyone going to protect their 20% time block? What is that? What? What's happening over there?
I can see burning through my face.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
We're gonna do those 5 income producing activities, or 2 of them at least that we can do in the
First thing in the morning.
Time block them in our peak hours. So we know.
But the best thing, can you tell me how to protect it?
I don't, what obstacles are getting in your way right now?
Dogs, kids, chickens, husbands, crazy.
Husbands, she has multiple.
Like all the things.
Plural. That was plural, Allie. Careful.
Shut up.
I meant what I meant to say was, all the things.
Mhm.
I think
Okay,
it
so where
depends
would
on the
be an environment
it
where
depends
those
on the
things are
person.
not an issue?
Arkansas.
Okay. What's another option?
I guess.
You're here
Not
right now.
doing it at home.
You're here right
Like
now.
the laundry is an obstacle. Amazon man just delivered something.
So if you don't protect your lead generation time right now, how will you know you're secure in 45 to 60 days?
Right, I'm not. Nonsense is happening. But the laundry's done.
But Allie, if you prioritize going to yoga, which you do, you leave the building and you leave your phone maybe in your car or whatever, like that prioritizes for you and they can't bother you when you're there. It has to be the same with your lead gen
Same
time.
thing. Yeah.
You want to be
Right.
secure in 45 to 60 days.
I also haven't gone to yoga in 4 weeks.
That should be, well, Dustin gave me the best piece of advice, which was book that vacation well in advance, prioritize that family, because if you don't, the business will take over and you will burn out. Like you will not have longevity. And that's the goal. So I fail at that sometimes, but I'm getting better. But you have to protect that and tell people
I should
this is my time for this.
You what?
have to leave my house.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Because you have littles.
Like,
Right.
you guys have an amazing office. I was in the Princeton office in New Jersey for 7 years and I know you guys are moving to a cooler office. I drove by this morning. It looks awesome. This office is cool too. You have so much space for activities. Who saw that?
So much more room for
So much room for activities. Yes. Oh, that's right.
Insider.
Allie, you need to book, find a yoga instructor that will teach yoga in the office, and then we can do script and role play afterwards.
Michelle is a yoga instructor. She's on this call.
Michelle.
I am.
I know you are, girl. Shout out to you.
We'll show up with cash and Venmo, and you teach once a week, and then afterwards, I'll teach script and role play. How's that?
I would totally do that.
You
Let me
can't
write that
see me,
down.
but
Fine,
I'm
fine. I would do that.
I know you can't see them.
This is great.
Yeah.
So, you guys can also collaborate on lead generation if you want it as well.
Yeah.
So even if you don't physically come to the office every single day and some want to do it from home or whatever, you can start like a Zoom room and do it together and just mute each other. Like you all can talk in the morning for 5 minutes or script practice in the morning for 10 minutes. And then stay on virtually, so you're like engaged and empowered by other people that are doing it, so it doesn't feel isolated. Just mute yourselves and lead gen together. And it's fun, right? You get in a rhythm and then you can like come off of mute and be like, oh my God, I just got off the phone with somebody crazy or whatever. Or does anybody know a house that's coming on the market with an in-law suite? And collaborate that way if you wanted.
I do. I mean, I know for sure I do need to get to the office more and use the office more to kind of do my lead generations, do my work. Cause I feel like at home, I'm like, but when I get to the office, I'm like, okay, let's get shit done.
Yeah.
Let's focus. Yeah.
So if you commit to even 2 hours or 2 hours of lead generation and follow up in the morning for 3 days a week, what would your business look like in 60 days?
ABC.
ABC would be full. I have a whiteboard.
The office would be overrun with like papers and whiteboard, and we'd be like,
Yeah. Isn't that the goal though? Like
Let's do it.
work purposefully and get out early and feel good about it, not feel guilty.
For some of us, like those, like some of the lead gen things, like writing cards, I love that. To me, that fits my personality more. And so I enjoy that, and doing that with other people and just seeing other people, you know, being consistent with that too would be fun.
So who should I talk to about setting up a lead gen room for you guys?
I was gonna say, so 3 days a week, you're always here. What if we make a commitment? Like, just put it down right now. Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. 9 to 11. Let's be here or here in League Gen.
I can be
What do you
here.
guys think? We can do virtual too. We can have Alana set up a room for you guys. So it'll be a time blocked on the calendar, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 11. You can join if you want.
I'm down. And we'll have a lot of it on the calendar, like right generation time, so everybody can participate.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love this for you guys.
And we can switch it up, like do calls on Mondays, and then on Wednesdays we'll do handwritten notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that Jennifer mentioned that. So that goes to, what do you guys like to do? There's so many lead generation sources. If we go back to the very beginning of our conversation, just focus on the 3 that you enjoy and that's already working. Your sphere absolutely should be in your top 3. If it's not, you're not being real with yourself. You're afraid of it. Sphere will be sphere referral, same, will be your easiest source of income.
Yep. And that has to be tied in, Michelle, to breaking through that fear of coming across as manipulative or disingenuous, whatever, is being able to have prompt those organic conversations to stay top of mind with people, to be able to say, oh my gosh, I was just doing this open house the other day, boom, boom, boom. And then you just continue with that conversation. Immediately you've dropped that reminder that you're in real estate.
So I'll give an example. I love people and connection. I don't know if you could tell. And so in the very beginning of the year, I would make a commitment of what I was going to do. So whatever, these daily activities were non-negotiable for me. And then some of them I wanted to do, like 2 big events and then 3 smaller events, right? And then the smaller event, whatever the number was, I forget. The smaller events were my tight knit, my VIP action plan people, the people that constantly referred me, the local mortgage person that only sent me the deals, etc. And so I did small, like happy hour type of things with them once a month, whatever the goal was. And then I did larger events. And so for my larger event, I've never done it before. I didn't know what it looked like for my past clients in my sphere. Like, what does that look like as an agent? So I did what everybody else does. And I did a pie event. And I'm like, I'm 20, whatever, 8 years old, and I'm doing a pie event. It seems like I don't even eat pie, let alone bake the pie. So I bought the pie at Costco. It was just like so uncomfortable for me in all the things. And I had a little setup in a restaurant, a local restaurant, and I had like a room like the size of this. And I learned after this, looking back, it took me a long time. It wasn't about the event. It wasn't about that I was doing a pie party. It was about all of the connections leading up to, during, and after. And the amount of business I accidentally got from that, I didn't talk about real estate one time.
Yep.
The amount of business I got from that was, honestly, I won't even mention it. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. But I was so uncomfortable in doing it. I didn't talk about real estate one time. And it was great. I did it, when COVID took that away, but did it every year. So finding the ways that you want to, just commit to those. Don't do a million different things, just focus on 3. If one of them's writing cards, commit to how many cards you're gonna write a week or a month, and then do it. Just make it non-negotiable, whatever you commit to. What else you guys got? This has been great. I've enjoyed my time with you.
So what was your goal when you did that event, like to get their contact information? Like, how did you turn your pies into business?
Great question. How did I turn my pies into business? Oh my God, that's phenomenal.
Metaphor for everything now.
So, I mean, they were just, I invited people that were in my sphere, that were in my referral, my VIP people, and then I invited people that were in my pipeline. I invited people that were in my listing and my buyer pipeline. I had 2 separate ones because I was crazy. And if people were like on the fence, they were interviewing other agents or whatever, I was inviting them to my pipeline. I'm gonna give them a $9 pie. They think I baked it, even though I was truthful about it. I definitely didn't. Also, the Costco pies are huge. I don't even know how you bake all those. Anyway. And they came. How many other realtors were inviting these people, the sellers, to a pie party? No one. I did that with 3 listing leads and got all 3. Yeah. So they were already in my database. I asked a few key people if they knew anyone, like if my friend knew that her neighbor was looking to sell, but I didn't know the neighbor and there was no connection there. I asked my friend to bring the neighbor. And then if that person wasn't in my database, they definitely were after the pie party. She asked how I turned my pie party into deals. Great question.
I had to go from pies to deals.
Pies to deals. But I made that commitment in the beginning of the year and I didn't get distracted or squirrel away from the 2 big events and the 5 small VIP events.
So did you have like a little sign up sheet that people, when they were picking up their pies?
Yeah, so in the beginning, anything you ever want to do that's like this, if you're going to put in the effort, so an event and like an open house, they're the same thing, right? If you're going to go through that much effort, you might as well always have 7 touches. They talk about 7 touches in the books we have at our fingertips through Keller Williams. 7 touches. How are you making 7 touches around the entire event? So you're sending out the invite via email, you're calling them to invite them, you're calling them to ask them for their pie order because I had like 2 or 3 different pies. So what specific kind of pie that they want? I'm calling them to remind them about the event. I'm seeing them at the event. I'm calling them after to thank them for coming. I'm at 6. And my 7th one was sending them pictures or posting, you know, whatever happened there, posting on social media so they had the memory for themselves. So you could do a million different events. I've seen people do like, they'll have an Easter bunny dress up in a common space like the restaurant and they'll have families come and that's their gift. Their gift is take your family photo with the Easter bunny and I'll be there hanging out. So same exact thing, different concept. You would still create 7 steps around it. And then, yeah, I just had like, it was very simple. Don't make things complicated. A Google sheet, literally the people that ordered the pie choice and then the choice. And then when you get there, people don't even remember what pie they ordered. And they just go and pick up the pie. Like they're not there for the pie, which is the craziest part. It's the craziest part. They're truly not even there for the pie. They just want to connect with people.
Okay.
Did that answer your question, Michelle?
It did.
I told you all the enchilada part.
What else? Do you have any ideas for like smaller events? Like you said, you do big ones with everybody pies and Easter bunnies. What's like a small event?
I liked to do happy hour. My crowd was younger. First time home buyers was a top source for me. So I did happy hour. I personally don't drink on school nights, so I would have hot tea at the bar and everyone thought that was funny. And so that became a thing. So yeah, that, people do home buyer seminars. That's focused on buyers. Obviously you want to be focused on sellers because sellers listings lead to more buyer leads, which create leverage for you. So yeah, happy hour, mastermind groups, or like a seminar where you're providing value. People have no idea where they need to go to get pre-approved. They don't know what they need to do to improve their credit score or whatever. So if you can provide a resource for them, like and do it with your lender. So also if you're gonna do events, never pay for anything, ever. Always ask your vendors. So you always use the same inspector, you always use the same appraiser, you always use the same title person. They have money, they have expense accounts. Those expense accounts are to use on you. You are their client. So I coach a client and he's doing a pie party actually. And he had a hang up around asking his vendors for money, which is, it's crazy. You have to look at it a different way though. You're providing them so much money. It's easy, it's free. They only have to stay in relationship with you. You're providing them all of the leads. So, and he has this whole entire pie party. He texts me. He's like, is it bad if I get extra money? I'm like, no, you can keep fundraising. We made it a joke. You can keep fundraising if you want and save it for the next event. But it's really easy email, right? It doesn't need to be complicated, or a phone call. Hey, I'm having a party. The cost is going to be around $1,000. We're asking each of our closest vendors to contribute $250. Let me know what you're comfortable with, and we can send you the link or where to make the payment to. Also, you're invited. Come and interact with all of the people. You're providing an audience for that.
Yep.
If you work with a photographer consistently, you can ask them, come for free, do the photo shoot for free. You're going to be able to market to 100 people that are at my event, where you can leave your card passively on the corner and pick up a photo shoot or whatever. So it doesn't even have to cost you money. Right. Because we have enough
That's
expenses.
kind of marketing.
There was a guy that I followed when I first got licensed, and he is the founder of Skyslope, Tyler Smith.
Yeah.
And he was a top 30 under 30 with KW. Anyway, he had a huge couple of bins in the back of his car when he was a realtor. And his admin, if he was going to show a house in a certain area of town, he never went empty-handed. She would pin for him the houses around wherever he was going of people that he'd closed on or that he was nurturing or whatever. And if he knew that they had a dog, he had dog treats or whatever with a little bow or something that had his card on it. And he would just drop it off, knock and say, hey, I was in the neighborhood. So he never went empty-handed to neighborhoods when he was showing. He always had other stops there. And on the way back, little Starbucks $5 gift cards or whatever. And he would drop them off, say, hey, I was in the neighborhood, thought of you, blah, blah, blah.
That's
But
awesome.
that's how he grew like this massive business in sales, by just the little things like that, is making, connections with folks. It doesn't always have to be a big event, although he did do big events, but
You're right. It absolutely doesn't have to be. I had such a big sphere that was the easiest way for me to get everybody, like maximize my efforts, get everybody in one room and just like hang out with them for 3 hours, because also people stayed, which I didn't think they would. So then I ended up having like games and stuff there for people to do, but yeah, it does not have to be an event. So that's why I'm saying in the very beginning, decide what you want to do and commit to it. And then you can start tracking your outcomes. So you know that you have to knock on 18 doors to get 1 lead. That's a pretty good ratio for cold connection.
mhm.
It's usually a lot more.
Yeah.
So,
Keep it up.
so yeah, that might work for you. And it might not. It might take Ally 50 doors to get one lead, and she may compare that to another lead source and say, I could do less effort over here, I'm gonna do this more, or something similar to that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, guys, I'll be here all day, hanging out.
Well, thank you for this. This was very, very informative.
Is
Right.
Joe taking you over to the new building?
I don't know what Joe has in store for us today. You know, I asked him this morning at breakfast, I said, so what are we talking about today? I have no idea.
Too funny.
So was lead gen,
Yeah, you're great.
which I know a lot about, so that was easy. Hopefully it helped.
Are you still doing that? Like now that you're not in production, you're just feeding those leads to your team?
Yes. Yep, so I got an agent referral last week, literally, and I sent it over to our admin that does our CRM management. And she adds it in, and someone needs to claim it within 5 minutes, or it gets circulated to another agent. And then a couple days later, he messaged me and he said, hey, were you ever able to connect with those referral people I gave you last week? I didn't even have to talk to anybody on the team. I just immediately went into the CRM and I was like, who connected with them? What happened? You know? And then I was able to reply to him. So yeah, I just forward all the leads over because I'm running 2 other companies. I'm not just not doing anything. I can't sit still, shockingly enough. So I just let them have it all. They have access to my sphere, everything. And it passively runs. Passively. Whatever that's supposed to be. It runs. Yeah. Oh, she's back.
Connection.
Sorry, for some reason, my connection is acting wonky now.
Did you hear me? I'm sorry. I can.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yes, I send it back to them.
Yeah.
For you all.
He sent us the PDF version of the book.
Oh, thanks, Ron.
Oh, he is super.
Thank you, Ron.
Ron's been a ninja, amazing unicorn in the background of Joe's life for 3 years. If you haven't met Ron, we love him. How'd that go?
It's good.
Good.
Well, the website wasn't working for a while, and we finally got the link for the school, so,
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Registered, actually, one already completed her classes, she just needs to take the exam prep and take the license.
That's awesome.
I didn't know other ones, like, ready to go, like, they're investing full time, like, they don't have jobs.
They just missed a great class.
Right,
Yeah, I just
right.
told them, so I said, next time, I'm like, you need to join our classes this week coming up.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Now we got some lead generation
Yeah.
classes.
Oh, Alana.
So I got
Yes.
2.
Do you mind helping us out?
Sure.
We're gonna need you.
Okay.
So Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we need a Zoom room set up, reoccurring. She's getting pen and paper up,
Yeah,
her phone.
millennials, or you might be Gen Z, I don't know what's up.
From 9 to 11?
9/11.
Should we start not the following, should we start the following week?
Oh, just Thanksgiving. Oh, I forgot.
Like after Thanksgiving?
Wait. We like massive action around here.
I mean, tomorrow. What's today? Today's Thursday. Just kidding, not tomorrow. That would be a Friday.
Let's start Monday
Follow
Monday.
Friday,
Let's
girl.
follow Friday.
Monday, Wednesday.
or
Friday.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we can start Monday.
Momentum.
Lead
And massive
generation
action.
class.
Oh, I love
Lead
that.
gen, Monday,
Yeah,
Wednesday,
lead gen.
Thursday.
So send
Here
all the
and on Zoom.
newbies to lead gen.
We will be here, lead genning.
It was their idea.
Oh my God, who's gonna be running that?
Well, Alana's gonna set it up for us.
Yeah, we'll all be
Monday,
there.
We'll be
Wednesday,
here.
Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday.
I
Thursday.
love it. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Because I'm self-centered and can't commit to Fridays and nobody refuddled me on the day, so.
Sure will.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, we start Monday.
Okay.
Can you add us to that, Joe and I to that link so we can,
Pop in.
Yeah.
Yeah, say hi.
That makes it better.
Yeah. that makes it better.
Next level.
It's there.
Cool, that's exciting. And then, Jennifer, what day were we gonna do script practice role play, you said?
let me talk to the girls. I can't do Thursdays because every other week I have a networking group that I meet at 9 o'clock anyway. So that kind of conflicts and I don't want to always be juggling that, but let me talk to Michelle and get like a yoga and role play day and
Cool.
I'm cool any mornings except Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Except
Cool.
we do like a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, my pen.
All right, guys.
Thank
Thank you
you,
for
Kate.
listening all day.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Good seeing you again.
Thank you guys for coming.
Bye, everybody. I'm heading out. Thanks, Kate. Safe
Bye.
trip.
Thank you.
Michelle and I are meeting up there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she's awesome.